Well, hey, speaking of topical, or no, that's not a good segue. But no. So,
Speaking of topical.
how about that ointment?
Jersey's topical.
This is the AT Banter podcast, a balanced and entertaining look at assistive technology, accessibility, and its importance in people's lives. Join Rob Minot, Ryan Fleury, and Steve Barclay as they banter with people around the world about anything and everything regarding assistive technology and the disability community. Now, on with the show.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of AT Banter.
Banter. What's with the stutter?
I don't know. It's something new I'm throwing in this year.
Really?
What do you think?
I think
you don't like it?
You're getting a couple extra B's in there for blind beginnings, maybe. Are you trying to
Maybe.
subliminally
That's
attract
right.
an audience over to the Blind Beginnings podcast?
You got it. Yes.
Well, why don't you mention that? Talk a little bit about it.
Oh, well, hey, listen, Blind Beginnings is the great nonprofit organization that I do some work with, and they have started up a podcast, go figure. And they talk about some programs, they talk about some of the issues that a lot of blind and partially sighted youth experience, and they even have some youth helping with the podcast as well on a regular basis. So it's a pretty cool show. They've got 2 episodes up, and you can find that over at their website at www.blindbeginnings.ca/limitless, which is the name of the podcast, Limitless Podcast. Look at that. Look at that little bit of shameless self.
Look at that.
Eh?
Indeed, yeah. Yep.
But no cowbell.
No, they don't get a cowbell. Have to pick a different instrument.
Get him a triangle.
Hey, you know what? I thought of something that we could actually do to try to bump up our listenership. Or to try to interact with our audience. It wouldn't actually increase our
hosts?
listenership. Ooh, nice. You're on fire today.
Professional recording?
No, I thought we could threaten to melt down the cowbell. And we could create like this whole social media campaign about like hashtag save the cowbell. Like I was just remembering that National Lampoon.
More cowbell skit.
No. That was Saturday Night Live. No, I just remember seeing in National Lampoon they had this marketing campaign where they had this picture of a guy holding a gun to a dog's head, and it was kind of buy our magazine or we're going to kill this dog.
Mm.
So I just thought we could leverage that somehow.
Well, try it. See what happens. We don't get
Save
feedback.
the cowbell. Well, I've already tipped our hand now, though. We would never melt down our cowbell.
We don't know that.
Hey, you know what else we got to do this episode?
Hey, what?
Got to give away a jersey.
Oh, hey, okay. Well, that sounds fun. Well,
Okay,
listen,
so
what jersey
what do
are
we
we
got
giving
left?
away?
Well, we've got 2 left. We've got the Fleury jersey and we've got the Minot jersey.
Well, I think we got to give away the number 2 Minot jersey.
Oh, okay.
Alrighty then. Well, hey, we are going to give away the coveted number 2 Minot jersey, and we're melting down our cowbell. No, we're not. And so, how's this going to work? Okay, so if anybody is interested in receiving the coveted number 2 Minot jersey, email us at cowbell@atbanter.com.
Now, do you think would it
We'll
sweeten
put
the
your name in
pot?
draw.
Do you think would it sweeten the pot if I wore the jersey for a week straight?
Oh, I don't think it would.
Okay. All right. I'm just offering. I'm just spitballing some marketing ideas, guys.
However, we can, if people email in and they say that they would like the jersey to come pre-Rob scented, just add it to your email, and if you get the jersey, he can wear it for a while.
You know what? Here's what you do. When you email us in the subject line, just put "smells like Rob."
Perfect.
Awesome. Okay. Well, excellent. Well, that's exciting. Okay. Well, and so what are we going to do? This in 2 weeks, you think?
Yeah, let's give people some time.
Yeah, sounds good.
Then you're going to have to mull it over and really
right.
decide whether or not they want to go out of their way to email us.
What else are they doing other than
Exchange
watching?
for a free jersey. Come on, people. Excellent. Okay, well, that's out of the way. Hey, Ryan.
Yes, Rob.
What the heck are we doing today?
Well, today I thought we would have back on the show a friend who we first spoke to back in 2016. Her name is Diane Johnson, and she's the president and CEO of Descriptive Video Works.
Ooh, very cool.
It's been 4 years, and things have changed, so it was definitely time.
Damn, she must have come on. What episode was she on?
I think it was episode 21.
Oof, wow.
Yep.
Wow, 4 years. Well, you know, it's funny you say that because we're coming up to our 200th episode.
This is our 200th episode.
What?
It is indeed.
What?
199.
Oh, my God.
And you didn't tell us.
Well,
I didn't have
take a look at the show.
I didn't have a cake or anything. Wow.
I know. Oh, wait. Don't have a
200
cake,
episodes.
but we got double cowbell. And I just threw the drumstick across the room.
What the? Are you okay?
That didn't work.
Flying cowbell. All right.
I don't know where it is now.
Hey, Ryan, I heard that Apple had their big event yesterday, eh?
They did. It's their WWDC, so their Worldwide Developers Conference. So just
that's
a
right.
lot of software announcements.
So what was your take on it?
Well, there wasn't any talk on accessibility that I heard or even that I saw people tweeting about. But there's definitely some features, I think, that, you know, they are bringing iOS somewhat more in line with some features of Android. Apple is coming out with their own silicon. So in the next couple of years, their Macs are going to be not necessarily leaving Intel chipsets, but, you know, using Apple's own chipsets. So that was kind of interesting. But, you know, really, there was just talk of iOS 14, the iPad OS, and just some under-the-hood cleaning, fixing some new features, of course. They talked about the watch and some new features. A lot of content, but really nothing that jumped out at me and made me go, oh, wow, I can't wait for that.
Interesting.
No mention of their glasses?
Nope.
Really?
Nope.
Still nothing, eh?
Nope. But keep in mind, this isn't necessarily a hardware event, right? This is an event for developers, and this is what, you know,
True.
we're going to be releasing in iOS and watchOS, and, you know, here's some a new platform or whatever for you to develop apps, which will work everywhere. You don't necessarily need to develop for Apple TV or watchOS or iPad. You know, you develop once and it's available everywhere. But there's a lot of people in the blindness community that are actually waiting for Apple to release glasses, especially now because Bose a couple years ago came out with their AR frames.
Right.
And a lot of the blindness community really liked those sunglasses because of they were Bluetooth, so it's speakers that fired into your ear. They weren't bone conducting. And there was really some hopes that they were going to come out with some AR glasses. And then we could utilize features like maybe, what's the Microsoft GPS, Soundscape.
Right.
So as you turn your head, you know, you would get information related to, you know, spatial awareness and that type of stuff, what's around you. And there's people waiting for Apple to do that. But, you know, Bose has terminated that project and has terminated their AR, terminated their frames as well.
Really?
Yeah, so, you know, a lot of people are looking to Apple, but there was no word. Maybe there will be. I think in October is their hardware event. So
Right. I would think so. They've been working on this long enough, and it doesn't take Apple that long.
Well, we've had
especially when the rumor's been in the wind for years now.
Yeah, you know, we've had Microsoft with HoloLens, you know, didn't go anywhere except for maybe, you know, high-end commercial industrial business applications. Google Glass went by the wayside. You know, they're trying again. But there's really nothing that's stuck.
Well, I hope something sticks soon.
Well, and I think that if anybody is going to develop something that is going to stick in terms of the market, it's probably Apple. I could see Apple making a go of this on a in a consumer way and like on a consumer level, making a product that it creates its own demand for. Like, when the Apple Watch came out, I mean, I honestly, like, I thought that thing was going to die off in a year, but it's still going.
Yeah. Yeah, they're on the 5th generation Apple Watch. Watch OS, I think version 7 is the current version. It's interesting, though, because I listened to a few other accessibility podcasts, and it sounds like what the people on these podcasts who are blind, who actually have and use an Apple Watch, the things they usually use them for are taking a quick phone call, sending a quick message, maybe some health stuff, your heart rate and maybe some sleep stuff. But that's, really about it. And, I don't know, it's pretty expensive for a Fitbit, but I guess they're not cheap either. So there's so much packed into the Apple Watch, right? And they're not for everybody, but, the people who use them seem to really like them.
Well, and I think I get the feeling that that's exactly what's going to happen with the glasses when they are released, is that it's going to be a product that people are going to be clamoring for.
It would be really, really cool, and maybe it'll happen, I don't know, but the Apple company comes out with a pair of glasses that, also have speakers, but that also have the ability that you can install apps on. So you could be laying in bed and watching Netflix.
Yeah.
Actually have to have a TV or have your phone there. You could actually see it or listen to it through the glasses.
I mean, I think that's absolutely on the radar. That's probably something that they're really looking to move the ball forward in terms of they're going to want to make a product that people are going to look at and go, holy crap, that's cool. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to do that. And I think a lot of it's going to be, obviously revolve around stuff like AR, being able to just, watch Netflix up in the upper right-hand corner of your vision while you do the dishes.
Mm-hmm.
Or drive to work.
Or drive. Why not? They're just going to create a product that's going to have to, where I'm going to have to create a whole new set of laws around.
Yeah.
But that's what people want. That's, and, in terms of assistive technology, of course, the possibilities are off the charts. That's really what's getting us excited about it. So, yeah, hopefully in October, we'll maybe hear more.
Hi, everyone. This is Steve from Canadian Assistive Technologies, and this is a shameless plug. Tablet-based magnification solutions have really taken off over the past couple of years. Products like the HumanWare Connect 12 have been extremely popular. Now we have a few different tablet-based systems to go along with the Connect 12. The Connect 12 is based on an Android tablet, which can be great for places using Google Classroom services, but sometimes you need a tablet with a bit more punch. The Mercury 12 from TriSight and the MagnaLink Tab from Low Vision International have similar functionality to the Connect 12, but both are based on the Microsoft Surface tablet, a full-blown Windows computer. If you're looking at a tablet-based system, you can look at all three on our website at www.canastech.com.
Joining us now is Diane Johnson from Descriptive Video Works.
Hi.
Hello, old friend.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, Rob.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent.
Sounds good. All right.
Okay.
Well, hey, listen, thanks for coming back.
Absolutely. I thank you for inviting me. It's been a few years.
It has. We were shocked. We went back into the archive and realized, wow, it's been almost
4 years.
Really? Wow.
I know, we're all 4 years older. How about that?
And we look 4 years younger, so it's quite amazing.
Well, that's, you know what? So it was so long ago. Why don't we just start off and giving us, because who knows who's listening these days.
Yeah.
But let's revisit Descriptive Video Works and give us a little bit of a snapshot about what you guys do.
Sure. I started the company in 2003, so 16 years ago. And we do television programming for people that are blind and vision impaired. So audio description, descriptive video, same thing. And so what we do is we provide a voice that comes in that basically paints a picture of what's going on in programs, in commercials, on streaming services, all of that. So we have somebody that writes the show, and basically what they're doing is writing between dialogue so that they're describing what's going on. Then we have a narrator that voices it, we mix it, and then it goes back to our client, whether that be the broadcaster, Netflix, ad agencies, all different things like that. And that's basically in a nutshell what we do and what we've been doing for the last 16 years.
Well, we've got a long list of things to talk about.
Well, you start shooting the questions at me and I'll answer as best I can.
Yeah, well, I actually went back and listened to the episode from 2016, and there's still some gaps in the industry, it looks like. So we're gonna cover a whole bunch of topics.
Sounds good.
Well, let's just start real general then, and just give us an idea. It's been 4 years. Have you guys gotten busier?
Yes, absolutely. There's been a lot of changes in the industry. When I first started, I could never understand why closed captioning for people that were deaf was 100%, and yet descriptive video was, maybe 10% at that time. And now it's really increased the amount. All of primetime programming in Canada has to be described. So that's a change since the last time we chatted. So that's one of the things that, you look at all of the programming in primetime from 7 o'clock at night till 11 o'clock at night is mandated by the CRTC to include descriptive video. And also, I think the last time we spoke, we were doing some work with Netflix, and Netflix is not mandated to do audio description, but they do it because they know it's the right thing to do. So all of their original programming is described. We're now what's called a TPN partner. So that's we're part of the Trusted Partner Network for Netflix, which was a challenge to get that, but we knew we would get that status. Needless to say, with a company as big as Netflix, they want to make sure that the programming that they're doing, the audio description they're doing is absolutely top notch. So we've done some things for them, such as doing focus groups with children that are blind. We do a lot of children's programming, and we thought, it's really important to get the feedback from them. Is the voice the right voice? Are we describing too much, too little? So we did focus groups with kids, and it was really good. The feedback was just great. And we've also, we do Narcos, which is, of course, a show on Netflix, and that's Spanish. So we did focus groups with people that were Spanish because we wanted to, again, make sure that we were doing the best job possible. So that's one of the areas that, we make sure that we are working with our advisory council, and they are all blind. So if we have any things that come up that maybe we're not sure whether it's the right thing to do, the right word to use, the right tone, we can go to them, and they're amazing with giving us advice when we need it. As to the growth since the last time we had the interview, we've hired more people. We're finding that we're getting all different areas of work coming in. So some of the new areas would be, cruise ships. And you think about someone that's blind that would like to go on a cruise. And so they go to the travel agent, and the travel agent says, yeah, we'll just watch this video, and it tells you all about what we do. And they're, well, I'm blind, I can't see the video. Oh, okay. And then they get on the cruise ship, and they go, I'd really like to do some things, on land, some excursions, things like that. Well, there's the TV that's in the cabin, and it doesn't have audio description. So now we're working with cruise lines, making sure that there's accessibility with the cruise lines. So that's another area. There's a number of other areas as well. Do you want me to jump into that now, or do you want to ask some more questions?
Yeah, no, I definitely think we'll get to that. But I want to back up a little bit. And you had mentioned, what was it, the TPN network that you guys are of now? So since our last interview, I've been watching way more descriptive TV. And, we've got so many more companies now. We've got, John Halverson Productions, BMI, WGBH. Does this TPN network, did they establish like a set of standards or criteria that have to be met for quality description?
No, the Trusted Partner Network, it's NP3, is basically TPN is making sure that we've got all of the technology that we need to have and all of that in order. There's nobody in Canada that has that status. And then an NP3 partner is the Netflix partnership that we have. So we're established as an NP3 partner with Netflix. So when you're talking about sort of the criteria, the guidelines, things like that, that's something that's different. So I worked with the CRTC on our guidelines for Canada, and we've revamped them, or I wouldn't say revamped them, refreshed them a couple of years ago. And so the other companies, all of the companies need to go with those guidelines.
Okay, great. The last time we spoke, you guys, I think, had mentioned that you have done Narcos, which was Spanish. And you've done a lot more hiring in the last 4 years, and we're seeing more and more audio description available in different languages. Are you guys doing multiple languages now, or is it still English, Spanish, French?
It's English, Spanish, French. We, mainly specialize in English audio description. We're now starting to do video games as well, which is a whole new area. Our company, Descriptive Video Works, was a year ago purchased by Keywords Media Services or Keywords Studios. And Keywords is one of the top video gaming companies in the world. So they are in 26 different countries. So I'm quite sure as we get, more involved, we will be doing more multi-language audio description.
Yeah, that's great. Like I said, I've been watching some Amazon instant video stuff, and, the list of languages just keeps increasing all the time, which, brings me to, region-specific material again. Are we finding that, if a movie house, or whoever, Universal Pictures, releases a movie in Canada with audio description, are we finding that those boundaries are opening up more and more, where we'll actually get audio description around the world at the same time?
Yeah, I think that's starting to expand. As I think I said last time, the UK is really the leader in audio description, and Canada, and now the US has come in. So if there's a program that has been described in the US, I think we're finding now that there's easier access to finding out whether it has been described or not. And so if it was described in the US and Canada has purchased that, series, then they will air it with description that has already been done.
Right.
And the same thing with the UK. It used to be, because it was very new, that people would say, oh, I don't know, I doubt that it's been done. So you just, you had really no way of finding out. And now I think that the producers are much more forward with saying, yes, we've already had that done. Do you want the audio description? And for the most part, the broadcaster or the streaming company is going to say, that's great that it's already been done. Yes, that's the format that we'd like it into.
Yeah, and that's still, another barrier. Like I said, I listened to the show from 4 years ago, and as somebody who's blind, there is still not a central hub where somebody who's blind or low vision can actually go and see what's being described on Netflix, Hulu, Crave, Disney Plus. We've got 25 different streaming services now offering audio description, and we still have no idea what's being described.
Yeah, well, the Audio Description Project, ADP, they have a list of a lot of the programs that are described in, Hulu, Amazon, Netflix, not the broadcasters as much, but they do have lists there, which is, and they try to keep their lists as up to date as they possibly can.
But is that U.S. content only, or is that?
It's going to be U.S. content, but it will also include some of the Canadian content, but it won't be specific. So in other words, you'll look at the list and you'll go, oh, that one's described on Amazon. Okay. I know that I have access to Amazon, or that one's described on Netflix. So as far as I know, and quite honestly, I'm not exactly sure how that works. I just know that they are listed there. So I think people do find it helpful that there's lists there. Having said that, it may say, this is on Hulu and described, and for all I know, in Canada, it might not come across that way. And again, like I say, that's not something that I'm really as knowledgeable.
Right.
So it's definitely gotten busier for you guys, but have you found that attitudes are changing in terms of people are realizing the real value about audio description?
Absolutely, like a huge change from when I started the company, but even from the last time we chatted about it. One of the things that I'm finding is a lot of sighted people are loving audio description. You think about how we all multitask. And if you've got your, say Netflix is on and it's got the description on it, you can be working around the house, you can do whatever you like, and you've still got the show on. So I think that's an area too, where it's not just focused on people that are blind. And I think it's becoming more of the norm than it used to be. There's times before when, we'd work with a producer, and because the broadcaster mandated that they had to have audio description in that show, they would have to do it. And then they may be working on another show that it wasn't mandated, but they've come to us and said, we feel it's the right thing to do. It's not mandated, but we'd like you to do the audio description. So there's, I think, a whole change in the way people think about it now. And I think, we're all more aware of inclusion than we ever have been, especially with some of the recent events. So we're looking at treating everyone equally and making sure that everyone has access to the same, information, education, entertainment, all of those things. It's really, I think, is becoming far more important. And especially, like you say, you're watching a lot more programming right now. Well, as we know, we're all inside more, and we're needing to be, we want to be entertained and informed. So,
have you found that with all of us, virtually working from home now, I watched the Apple WWDC conference yesterday and saw that today the audio description track for the presentation was released. Have you found that more companies that are doing virtual conferences are reaching out for audio description?
That's a very good question. And I haven't noticed that. I know we are doing, still doing a lot of live description. And we were supposed to be doing the Olympics for NBC and for CBC this year. But of course, as we all know, the Olympics and Paralympics were both canceled. But NBC had decided that they were, we'd signed a contract and everything to do it. And they had decided that they were going to do more than they did last year, which to me was a great sign. And CBC as well. So, there is, I think, more live description that's happening as well. We're doing the Canada Day show for CBC. We're also doing the Global Citizen Concert. We did it for CBC a couple of months ago. So it's now more top of mind, I think, where, if you're sitting down and deciding what your programming is going to be for the year, that would be a question you would probably bring up is there audio description included? Whereas before, no one would even think about it. You'd know that naturally closed captioning was going to be, but I don't think it would be on your radar to see if it was going to be, include descriptive video.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think, we see more and more people, like museums doing virtual tours and, aquariums and different things like that, different online conferences. And to have equal access, we're going to need presentations and stuff described to us. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, a whole new area for us that we're really enjoying and just getting into is the video games. We did Minecraft probably about 1.5 years ago. We just did Assassin's Creed, the trailer for that.
It's fantastic.
I'm glad you liked it. Yeah.
It almost made me want to go out and get a PlayStation and Xbox and try to play the game.
And I think that that's one of the things that I've loved about the company. When somebody said to us, hey, do you think you could ever do so-and-so, like probably 10 years ago when they said, do you think you could ever do live description? And I was like, hey, let's try it. And when we were approached about, do you think you'd be able to do video games? I thought, hey, we've got nothing to lose. Let's try that. So I think that's, in a way, what keeps me engaged and excited about it is the new areas as well. And it's showing the growth, and people's awareness has increased. There's absolutely no doubt.
Well, and it's interesting because COVID has really changed a lot of things, and not the least of which it's really put a lot of emphasis on just the importance of things like digital accessibility and equal access to virtual events and information. So, I think that we're really sort of on the edge of really exploring a lot of different genres, not just sort of video games. I mean, even everything from, who knows what's going to happen with, say, movie theaters, for example. We may very well see a real shift in the way that we consume sort of, day one entertainment. And so you may find that sort of is a whole new well of audio description as well. Do you guys kind of feel that?
I really think so. I think before it certainly wasn't top of mind, and everything's changing in our world. You think about an example would be kids that are blind that are going to school, and maybe they're not in a special school. They're part of, the general public school system. And if they're doing learning online, some of that's going to have to be described for them. So it is definitely expanding, and we're looking at it, I think, in a completely new way, because we're looking at everything in a new way, really, in the last couple of months, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, and that's interesting you mentioned that. So have you been approached by anything in terms of education? Because you're absolutely right. I mean, there's so many educational materials that may very well need to be described. Has anybody reached out to you guys in terms of any educators? Absolutely.
Universities have more the States than in Canada. But you think about it, somebody's doing their practicum, and part of it is that they have to watch a certain show. And, you're looking at a university class, and are you going to say, well, gee, that one's not described, so you don't have to do the same thing as everybody else. We're going to give you another job, something else. Well, that's not right. And are you going to say, well, sorry, you can't complete the course because you can't see this video and participate like everybody else can? So we've found that from universities. To date, I can't think, and I'm kind of racking my brain now, I don't think we've had anyone in the education system for elementary schools or high schools. But I can see that definitely will change as well.
Well, why don't we talk a little bit about all these new streaming services? Ryan mentioned it earlier. There are just so many, and it looks like even more on the horizon. Have any of them reached out to you guys?
We do a lot of work for Netflix, as I mentioned before. Amazon, we're doing some work for them. We haven't, heard anything from Hulu. They may be doing it through one of their production companies, because sometimes what happens is they would go to a big studio that is doing, say, their color editing and their localization and their subtitling and everything, and have a package. And that would include descriptive video and closed captioning. So that may be the case with companies like Hulu or, a Crave or anyone else that's doing it, that it's just part of the package,
Machine learning and AI. Do you ever see a point where those technologies can be leveraged?
There are a couple of companies that are doing what we call synthesized voicing. And so they would write it and have a voice that would voice it. We've done focus groups around that. Most people don't care for it because it doesn't have the emotion that you would like to have in a show. Having said that, if you have a documentary, maybe that's, that may be a way to go. If we've looked into it, but at this point we're going to, continue doing audio description the way that we are. But I'd never say no. If at some point we had a client that said, we have all of these programs that we really need to describe. They're all documentary style, talking heads, that kind of thing. What do you think about doing them in more of a sort of digital fashion? I would certainly take a look at it. I would never, turn away from it.
Well, and that, if you were to use synthesized speech, depending on the content that you're needing to be described, your turnaround times would be a lot quicker. I think back, 4 years ago, we were talking about it, and I think you'd mentioned, typically, I think the quickest amount of time turnaround is like a day.
Yeah.
To get a descriptive track done. So AI would definitely speed that up. But then again, it's like trying to listen to synthesized speech, read to you a book. It's just horrendous. I'd much rather have human narration and have that emotion and inflection.
Yeah. And that's really what we found. And that's, whenever we've done focus groups about that, you can see everybody sitting there and going, I guess if we got more of it, then maybe it would be okay with certain shows. So I think that's part of what we all, need to look at overall, is something like AI the way we want to go. I don't know. I mean, we know it's certainly not going away, but how does that work with audio description?
Right.
So maybe for people out there that maybe aren't really familiar at all with the process that happens, can you give us like a little bit of a basic idea of what that process is like?
I'm going to do an overview because I'm not our technical department at all. But basically, we would be approached by either a producer, a broadcaster, streaming company, and they would come to us and say, okay, we'd like this show described. We would then look at sort of format, what format they're bringing it in. We work in all different formats. From the very beginning, I said we can't just solely have one format. We have to be, all inclusive in that way. So then they would get in touch with us. We would look at their timelines. We would look at volume. We would then get back to them, give them a quote on, what we feel is a fair price for how much we're doing. And then we would send the file to one of our writers. They would send the file to us. Then we would send it to our writer. Our writer would download it. They would write it. And then they would send it back to the studio. We would voice it in the studio. We would, edit it, mix it, and then send it back to our client. And in between those times, we're doing quality control on it. So the writer would look at their script, read it through after they've totally completed it. Then when we're in the studio, the narrator is also watching it. So they may say, gee, this doesn't make sense here. Can we rewind that and take another look at this? And they may tweak that. For the most part, they don't need to, but we look at it that we like, more eyes on it. And then when our audio tech person is going through it as well, they're double checking it before it goes back to the broadcaster, because for us, it's really important that we're getting it right. We don't want it to air and someone that's watching it going like, wow, I was totally confused. You had the wrong name there. You said he instead of she, which could be, you think about you're typing out a script and it could be a typo, but man, does that ever change the show? So, so that's the process of how we do it. And we also, like some of the companies we work with, like us to send them a demo of 3 or 4 voices, and they'll decide. For the most part, we make the decision because we've been doing it for a long time. Netflix at first, when we started working with them, they wanted to choose the voice themselves. Then they basically said with most of their programming, you guys choose which you think is the best voice for that. You've been doing this for a long time. Having said that, there's certain accents that we need for some shows that we're doing, like Downton Abbey. You have to have a specific accent for something like that. You look at comedy, I think I told you last time we'd done 400 SpongeBob SquarePants shows. So you definitely need a certain voice for that. Children's programming, horror movies, all different voices. And to me, that's really important because, you look at a horror movie, first of all, you have to be very respectful of the music because the music does tell the story a lot of the time. And you also have to have a voice that's not giving away what's going on, but is also engaged in the style of program.
So I'm going to ask the question that everybody's waiting to be asked. Are you still doing Pornhub?
This had to come up again, didn't it?
It had to come up.
Did you ask me last time?
We did. And
okay, whatever I said last time is what I would say this time. Okay.
See, I feel like that's where we could use the AI synthesized voice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, we haven't been approached in the last 4 years about Pornhub, okay? Just so you know.
Oh,
all right, well, I'll send them a message.
Yeah.
I want more.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
So going back to Netflix, though, I'm just curious. You guys obviously have had a long relationship with them, and they've been in the audio descriptive game for a while, certainly, longer than any of the other streaming services, although in fairness, they've been around longer. But is it your feeling that they pay more attention to audio description than the other streaming services? And if so, why do you think that is?
I think that they've really set the bar for the rest of them, quite honestly. I have the utmost respect for them because it's not something they have to do as part of their license or for any reason other than they feel it's the right thing to do. And we, they came to us very early on and said, can you help us with this? You guys are the experts here. And we spent a lot of time talking to them about it, going through their guidelines. And I really think that to them, it is priority. It's not my belief that they did it because they thought it was a financial grab. I think they did it because they thought it was the right thing to do. And what it did is it set the bar for the rest of them. And, as you probably know, a lot of them were not going to include audio description. And they had sort of reasons why, well, that one wasn't provided with it, and it was too tight of a turnaround time for this one. And Netflix never had that stand on it. It was like, we're doing it, and that's important. So I think they also set the bar high for broadcasters as well.
Well, and I would hope now that, any whatever screenwriter, director, producer that's creating a show is actually thinking about having descriptive audio, because they're going to a mixed desk anyway. They're working with audio engineers anyway. Let's just do this from the beginning instead of coming back afterwards saying, hi, can you do this for us?
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
Well, you had mentioned back in 2016 that you guys were doing about 100 shows a month. How has that increased?
I'd say we're probably doing just on average about 100, 130. But there's different styles of shows that we're doing now. Like very often we'll do a series and then, the next, we'll do, say, the first 8 episodes of something. Then we continue to get the entire series until it's, discontinued, which sometimes happens.
Right.
So, and we're also doing more corporate things as well. So they're short videos, like a 2-minute, a 1-minute, things like that, for corporate clients, for ad agencies. Those are really starting to increase. So overall, I'd say, yeah, we're doing more work than we were, but we also, like for us with COVID, we've been able to keep our studios open. Because the studio is big enough, we're doing everything to do with sanitizing. Nobody's in the same room with each other or anything. So it's been really good, even though we're set up to go remotely in a second. In British Columbia, as we know, BC's doing really well. But if we were ever to have to shut down, we have everything set up so that we could jump into doing it remotely. So we haven't found that our work has slowed down through COVID. I think in some ways, for some studios, they're not able maybe to work remotely like we could if we needed to, but we're still, voicing in our studios.
Well, let me circle back around to kind of a topic we talked about early on, and standards. With more and more companies, it seems, doing or providing audio description, because like I mentioned a few of them earlier on, is there a concern that with all these different companies providing audio description, are there standards that need to be followed to provide excellence? Or is it just let's throw stuff at the wall and we get what we get?
I would hope nobody's throwing it against the wall, because there's definitely are standards.
Okay.
And I think there's high standards, and I think we've over the years made sure that was very, very important, because when we first started, the thing that I knew for sure was if we didn't do it properly, from my background in broadcasting, if you don't get something right, people are going to tune out. And as we all know, to get somebody back that you've lost takes a lot. Mm-hmm. And I thought, if we don't do this properly, we're going to end up just tuning people out, and they go, yeah, well, I couldn't even follow that show, or there was too much description, or the voice was really irritating, or whatever, and then you're done. And so now, and that was one of the things that 16 years ago, CBC and I got together and we said, we've been in the business for a long time, and we remember with closed captioning, there weren't guidelines, and it was all over the place. It was crazy. Right. And we said, with audio description, let's from the get-go make sure that it's done well, that there are standards, and that we all follow those standards, which we've done. And we've also tweaked some of the things, like we looked at the guidelines that we did, I think, in 2010. And we said, okay, there's things that we can probably add to them, that we've changed, that we've learned a bit more about. And so we've made sure that those guidelines are as up to date as they need to be. And everybody does need to follow those. I think it would be just a crying shame if people were just, as you say, throwing it against the wall, because it's just plain disrespectful. Why would you get somebody excited and say, yeah, Breaking Bad's just, audio described, which we just did the whole 7 of the series. And somebody's really excited, and then they watch it and they go, oh, well, I couldn't even follow it. Man, that voice just grated on me. So that to me would just be disrespectful. It's like anything that you do, just do the very best job that you possibly can, and make sure that you're getting input from the intended audience instead of just assuming what's right to do. And that's where guidelines can keep us all on track. And it's not something that you go, hey, we did the guidelines 15 years ago, so who cares? We've got those guidelines. Revisit them like you do with your strategic plans for your business or anything like that. You need to continue to update things and make sure that they're as current as they can be. So.
Right. And so you've mentioned like a couple times, you guys still use focus groups. And, I guess if people wanted to send you feedback on a program they saw that was done by Descriptive Video Works, is there a process they can do that?
Oh, absolutely. They just send it into info@Descriptive Video Works. Melissa, who is our client services manager, she's always checking like Twitter. She's checking our Instagram, all of those areas. If we find, and the other thing that I really like about what we do, we're, posting on social media. And if somebody posts something, we always make sure that the writer, like if somebody said, wow, the description was so great, I could really follow it or not. We make sure we get in touch with the writer so the writer knows. And if the narrator, somebody says, wow, that narrator was excellent or not, we'll be in touch with our narrator, because you think about it, in a way, they're working in a silo. They finish the job and nobody says, oh, that's really good, you did a great job writing that, until it airs. So we love getting feedback from viewers. We are totally open to it.
And I don't know if Rob or Steve have any other questions, but I'm going to refer back to one of the last questions I have. Is you, Diane Johnson, predicted in 2016 that perhaps in 5 years we would have 100% description. Where do you think we're at today?
Oh, wow. My last question is a hard question. I would say the fact that Canada has mandated that prime time is 100% is a big win.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a win that Netflix is saying all of their original programming will be 100% described. As to, all programming 100% described, no, we're not there. It is my dream that we'll be at the level that closed captioning is. I think the fact that, we're doing things like the Olympics, that sort of thing, that's really increased. With the Olympics, I would say we do 100% of what we can. Right. So in other words, there's no point in just doing, I can't think of right now, say there's a sport that it just is impossible to describe. So to be able to say, oh, well, it was 100% done, when the truth was you didn't help anybody by doing that segment, doesn't make sense. But there's my answer. So, if I had a crystal ball, I'd like to say, okay, in 2 years when we do our next interview, it'll be 100%. But I'd say we've absolutely come a long way. So that's the good news for sure.
One, it sounds like in the people you're talking to, whether it's broadcasters, movie houses, screenwriters, whatever, it sounds like more and more people are coming to the realization that this is just the right thing to do and accepting of it.
Absolutely. And it is. I mean, why would there be a certain segment of an audience of the population that can't have the same discussions as other people? You think about right now, everybody's watching so much more programming, whether it be streaming, whether it's just regular television. And there's so much conversation, people saying, what are you binge watching now? What are you binge watching now? And for someone that's blind to kind of look and go, well, there's not much that I have because there's no audio description, I can't join in that conversation. That's wrong.
So do you see that, Ryan? She invited herself back on in 2 years.
Than that, if you've got any breaking news, absolutely.
Anytime.
I do love shameless self-promotion.
No, actually, anytime you want to come on, you just let us know. And with that, again, we have to thank you so much again for coming on, and it's a fascinating process, and so important. Like you said, especially right now. So.
Well, thank you very much. And if there's any other questions that come up, you guys, please just fire them off to me, and I'd be more than happy to answer anything that I can, for sure.
Where can people find Diane?
You can just send an email to info@descriptivevideoworks.com and it will get to me. So,
excellent. And the website itself?
Descriptive Video Works.
Easy.
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 You bet. Have
Thanks,
a great
Diane.
day.
Take
Okay.
care. Yeah, I was hoping that the number would be a lot closer to 100%, but I had a sneaking suspicion that I wasn't even close to that yet.
Yeah. No,
We got a long way to go.
prime time, yay. Daytime, boo.
I'm pleasantly surprised that Netflix really has been taking the reins and being the leader in audio description for their platform. And I really, really hope all these new ones take a page from that and step up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's even been some YouTube, I think, originals that I've wanted to watch or rent or buy or whatever. And, I don't even know if they've got description yet. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. And I think
so
Amazon does fairly well too.
Yep.
I don't know about Disney Plus, and certainly, there's this new HBO Max platform out there as well. Yeah, there's a lot of work to be done, but it does really show just how much work is involved in producing, even a 2-hour movie, say. It's a lot of work. It's not just a matter of, just throwing descriptions on there. There's a lot of moving parts to this.
Yeah, well, like you said, horror movies, a lot of times the music, builds up intensities or intensifies moods. The narrator, whoever's doing the description, has to be able to fit in the silent sequences, enough words to make the description actually worthwhile, right? So yeah, it's like you say, it's a process. It
is a process, and in a way, it's almost unfair to compare it to something like closed captioning, because closed captioning is such an easier process comparatively. I'm not saying it's an easy process, but it's much easier than, say, creating an entire audio descriptive track for a movie or a TV show. But it's just as important.
Yeah, and I probably said this last year, but I think I'm going to have to try and find somebody to come on the show and talk about closed captioning.
Yeah, you probably did say that last year.
Get on that.
I will indeed.
All right. Well, hey, Ryan.
Rob.
Where can people find us?
They can find us online at www.atbanter.com.
They can also drop us an email if they so desire at cowbell@atbanter.com.
And you know what else?
What?
They can get us on social media.
Really?
They can. They can get us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Hey, no way. What's an Instagram?
It's one of those grams that's, instant.
And still no Pinterest.
Still no Pinterest.
Whatever, Pinterest. I still don't understand Pinterest. I've given up on Pinterest. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand it.
Is it even still?
Oh, sure, probably.
I don't know. We need a TikTok channel now.
Ooh, that's true. That is true. We need to let the Chinese government know what we're doing.
To the Chinese government?
Sure. AT Banter's got nothing to hide.
That's right.
That's what you think.
Rob's not wearing pants.
Speak for yourself.
I'm glad this isn't being audio described.
Yeah, really. Oh my God, what that would look like.
Yes.
Well, then that is going to about do it for us for this week. Big thanks to Diane Johnson for joining us, and we will see everybody next week.
This podcast has been brought to you by Canadian Assistive Technology, providing low vision and blindness solutions across Canada. Find us online at www.canastech.com. That's CANASSTECH.com. Or call us toll free at 1-844-795-8324. For all your assistive technology servicing needs, call Chaos Technical Services at 778-847-6840 or find them online at chaostechnicalservices.com.